Hello and welcome to another Solana tutorial. Today we're gonna talk about token extensions once again, because that's still a topic that people are struggling with. Even advanced Solana devs do not manage to get the right size of those accounts because that stuff is complicated. So today I just want to look a bit deeper into how those extensions influence account size and how we can calculate that account size up front. Because you don't want to make the account too big or too small, so you're not wasting rent or have it not work. So that's why we'll deep dive into token extensions, account sizes today. Just because it can't be so difficult to get that to work correctly. So here's what's happening. First of all, I want to work with a Solana Kit, and that thing will also have a Solana program token -2022, I think. Yep. And then import from Solana program token 2022 all the token stuff like initialize, mint, instruction, just to practice how we create tokens, right? Okay, let's also get the system program. Let's create myself a key. ND1. Nice. I like it. Let's go work on DevNet today. And we'll use our usual script to create transactions and send them. And you know what? I'm gonna allow myself to be a bit lazy and just use the CLI to create a token real quick. So something like SBL token create token, and then with this program. And I want to have a bunch of extensions. So yeah, let's use default account state. Possible values, initialized or frozen. Initialized. Enable close. Yeah, why not? Enable freeze, that's not an extension. Or is it? Did they make it an extension? I think that's still in the regular token keg can also do that, so I don't think that's an extension, so I'm not going to use that. Group and member and the metadata stuff, meh. But enable pause, that seems fun, let's do that. Sure, why not? Let's have a permanent delegate. But that should be enough then, I think. Could also do transfer hooks, whatever. Nah, I think that's good now. I can add interest rates or some weird stuff. Should I do transfer fee? Nah. I think that's enough extensions. Let's try that. Oh, if I have default account state, I think I need to enable freeze. Because the account state, even if I say it's initialized, I can later change it to be frozen. But therefore I need to have a freeze authority. So I need to say enable freeze as well. Okay, makes sense. Why not? There we go. And now we're creating a token under this program. Nice. And what I'm interested in is this, the actual transaction. I want to see what it actually does. I created this token. So this token mint account now has all of those extensions. But what I wanted to figure out is the size. So tell me the size. It is 280 bytes because the regular stuff for a token mint, and then the stuff for the extensions. If that confuses you, I have made videos on where we analyze that. I made specific deep dives on looking at actual account data. And also, we did that for extensions before. There's a bunch of videos. I'm gonna link them in the description below. You can check the extensions. The mint close authority is also me. The permanent delegate is also me. The default account state is initialized, so nothing special, but we could change it to frozen. And it is pausable, and I'm also the authority for that. And it's currently not paused. You don't see. Okay, that's the unknown token mint. But what I was really interested in was the actual transaction and the instructions of that transaction. Because we let the CLI do that. But if I want to do it manually, I need to know what I do. I do a system program create account where we create that actual account with the correct size. And there we have it. There we need to find out what the correct size is. And then we initialize all the extensions like the mint close authority, the permanent delegate. Here we initialize a default account state. I don't know why it doesn't have the correct thing for that. Initialize default account state. And also here it's pausable config. It also doesn't know the correct name for that, the Explorer, but that's fine. And only then in the very end we initialize the mint. This is what actually then creates the mint. So first we write all the extensions and then we initialize mint. That's how you gotta do it. And then we still have a set compute unit limit, whatever. If we're working on definite, I don't think I need that. So I'm gonna skip that, but CLI did. Okay, let's rebuild that ourselves. So basically, first challenge, I wanna be able to do this, but with my own little script. So what did we say? We need a get create account instruction from the system program. And here we need to know the mint size. And that we can also get from Solana Program Token 2022 with a getMintSize. There's token size and there's mint size. Token is for token accounts, so that's the get account size, the token account size. And getMintSize is the get the token mint account size. So that's what I want for now. And that thing will need extensions. And in a previous video, we found out that we can say extension that creates an extension. And here I say which extension. Again, I've been working with the kit and token 2022 for a bit. If you don't know that though, then it's difficult to figure all that stuff out. So now we need to define all of the extensions. What did we say we want to have? We want to have a default account state, and that takes... Wait, how did I do that? Data, get discriminate union content of extension args kind default account state. Yes, and what is it? Like, what do you need to have there? Ah, yeah, that was so annoying that it didn't give me the suggestions. So I gotta check here the default account state. You want the data to be this. It's a bit annoying. We gotta go to extension args and then default account state, which just takes state account arg state. Okay, so state account arg state, and I'm also just gonna say initialize. Cool, that's extension number 1, but we want more. What else did we want? We do want immutable owner, but that is a thing for token accounts, not for the token mint. For the token mint, we can have a mint close authority though. What does the mint close authority want? I can't see that here, so I need to again go to the extension, find the mint close authority and figure out that it has a close authority, which is an address. Okay, so close authority, which is an address. I'm just gonna take my payer here. There you go. Does it work? Here's a comma. There we go. Perfect. What other extensions did I want? I want mint close, and I wanted enable pause and permanent delegate. Okay, something with pause. A pausable account is for the account. And here's an important thing that I also told my friend who was struggling with this. Each extension is either for the mint account or for the token account. And so the pausable extension has one that is for the mint and one that is for the account. So for the mint, I think I need the pausable config, and then check what the pausable config needs, the authority and whether or not it's paused. That makes sense. And then for the account, so each of the token accounts, they will have this. So pausable config. We said authority and paused, optional address. Authority and optional address. So I say sum for my payer address. And then it says paused false. That's how we create this extension. So that was the pausable, and then we also wanted the permanent delegate. That's the last extension I'm going to add here. Permanent delegate, which also goes on the mint account. What does this one need? I don't know. I'm going to look in the extension. Permanent delegate just needs the delegate and address. The delegate and address. I'm also going to again put the payer here. Perfect. So that's my extensions. And with those extensions, I should be able to get the correct mint size. Let's just try this. There we go, 280. That's the same thing that we found for our actual account that was created through CLI. Perfect, so that works. We do have the same extensions and they give us the same size. Wonderful. However, please note that for now, those extensions, we said that should be the state and the close authority and so on. So we gave the actual values. However, so far we just used it to get the actual size. We will then need to use the same values when we initialize it. You'll see what I mean. So let's continue. We can now create the account with the system program because we know the space. It's the mint size. And we know the Lamperts because we can await RPC get minimum balance for rent exemption for that size. And then what else do we need? The new account. Oh yeah, we need a mint. Let's just call it mint. Generate a key pair signer. No, I can't call it mint. I call it mint key pair then. Okay. The new account is the mint key pair. Or really it's a signer. Could even call it new account. It doesn't matter. No. The payer is going to be the payer. So far so good. And the program address, this one will need to be the token 2022 program address. Number is not assignable to begin. This is one of the most frustrating things with the kit is that it doesn't have number in here. So annoying. Make it a begin. Can't you do that inside here if you don't? You know what? I'm going to make a video for improvement suggestions of the kit. And I'll write that down as one of them. So that's step one. We create this account. Cool. Next up, we got to initialize all of the extensions. So far, we just said those are going to be the extensions and we get the size from it. But for the Mint account to actually contain those extensions, we got to initialize them. So we got to say get initialize first default account state instruction. And what does this thing need? The mint and the state. Mint should be fairly obvious. It's going to be my mint key pair address. Or I could also just say const mint is mint key pair address, because I'm going to use that a lot. Mint, if I just have mint, I usually mean the account, so like the address. Here it means the address. So I'm going to make it easy for myself and be able to use this here. Okay, and then we need the state. And this here should be this here, right? And I could do this in the clean way of storing the extension. The unclean way would be to just do this, right? That would work. But the cleaner way would be to store the extensions and be like default account state extension is this, mint close authority extension is this, my possible config extension is this, and my permanent delegate extension is this. And then I put all of those in that array. But now I can also reference them, like down here I can say default account state extension state. There you go. Because then it actually uses the value from up here. The reason why I already need to put the value here is that some extensions, like the metadata stuff, the size depends on the actual state, because it can be variable length. For those, none of them are variable length, although this one is. This is an option, so it is variable length. If here I would have none, let's just check that. No, then the size would also be 280. Okay, never mind then. Anyway, this was just initializing the default account state. Now we gotta initialize all the three others. So get initialize mint close authority instruction. What does that need? Let me guess, the mint and the close authority, which I can get from the mint close authority extension close authority. Also, I wonder, can I write this differently? Could I be like, could I flatten the mint close authority into here? That would also work, because it's always state is extension state. So the quicker way to write this is if I just flatten this, then it will also have the state. That should also work, because they have the same name. Because the kit was developed in a way that has the same name. It still gives me then the kind as well in here, but that will be hopefully ignored. Okay, next up, get initialize a possible config instruction. Let me guess, I can put the mint and flatten my possible config. Perfect, this is going great. And then I just need a get initialize permanent delegate instruction with, let me guess, also the mint, and I flatten my permanent delegate extension, haha, and it will get from here the delegate. And here it got authority and pause. Otherwise, if I wouldn't do that, I would need to, oh, it just needs the authority. It doesn't need the paused. But that doesn't matter, I can still just flatten it, it will ignore the paused. If I want it paused, then I will need another instruction. So yeah, you gotta be careful. It doesn't take this part. If you would set it to true here, it would still not be paused. Just so you're aware of that. That would require another instruction. Just watch my deep dive on the possible extension. We did that then. We paused the token before it was even initialized. Okay, moving on. Now I think is the time where we can actually get the initialize mint instruction and initialize ourselves the token mint. Decimals, I'm just gonna go with a default of 9. Mint is my mint. Mint authority, I'm gonna put the payer again. And freeze authority, I'm also gonna put something. Also gonna put the payer. Address, because I'm not sure if the token program would complain. Probably not. The CLI complained. I mean, we can test that. With a freeze authority, it should work. Without a freeze authority, pretty sure it will also work. Yeah, you can just not then actually freeze it. Nobody can freeze it, but the default account state is still initialized. I am gonna keep it though, because it would be smart to have one if I actually do the default account state extension. But really, we're just playing with extensions. All I wanted to do is create a token with a bunch of extensions such that calculating the size of the account is not so trivial. I mean, for this, it's still easy, right? For the mint, it's somewhat easy. I can create a token with all of those extensions. We saw that here. Let's check that transaction. We created this token, and this token has all of those 4 extensions, like the CLI did. Wonderful. And also here we can look at that. Cool. Not paused. And if you wanted to have a specific token address like this, then instead of getting the mint key pair from a generate key pair signer, you would get it from a file like this that you grinded with the Solana keygen, and then you can create this token. There you go. Now the token we created is this one, the TOC2. Nice. Okay, with that, let's create an account for this token. So we know the token and we know the token extensions. How can we calculate the token account size? That's what people have been struggling with. Let's see how difficult that is for me. New file. So those are the mint extensions. And the question is now, how can I calculate the token account size? Because there is the getTokenSize that again needs extensions. But if I put the mint extensions here, then guess what? That will not give me the right size. I mean, I don't think so. Let's try. If I put the same extensions, I'm expecting it to give me the same size. Let's see. Yep, gives me the same size. Obviously, that's not what I want, because what I actually want, let's see if I were to do it with SPL token create account with the program 2022 for this token. There we go. It will create me this account, but that account, again, it doesn't tell me that. That account will have 174 bytes. Now, how do you know? Well, we do create that account through the associated token program with create, and that does a get account data size, which if you're already running a program, you can do that. Even if you're not running a program, you can do that. And then you know how large your account needs to be, so you can use that amount to create the actual account of the system program. Then you do the remaining initializations. And in this case, it just needs the additional initialize immutable owner. That's also something that the associated token program adds. We could also create a token account that does not have the immutable owner extension, but this one will have that extension. It has the immutable owner and the pausable account extension that it will get when the token program account is initialized, because that guy knows that that token is pausable, so it needs to put the pausable extension on there. But we need to have enough space for that. So how do we calculate that? Well, we don't need to manually calculate it if we do that thing that the associated token program also does and just get account data size. So this is an instruction on the token program, which means we can just simulate a transaction and we get that result. Let's try that first, because that's what it does here as well. The token program will then return this value, which is 170 whatever. So we see this doesn't work because we have the wrong extensions. You know what, for now, let me just put that as our normal instruction and get a get account data size instruction. What does that need? Just a mint. So we put in the mint and it will spit out for us the account data size. So for a token account, I think should be. So what's the token account size for a given mint? Here they say token size, account data size. The naming is a bit confusing because all of those are accounts, and token, well, all of those are related with a token program. The mint represents the token, but the actual tokens are in the token account. So it's like, there's no good word for token account. I wish there was a word for token account, one separate word, but there isn't. That's why this is a bit confusing. So anyway, if we just have this one instruction, I mean, we can send it. We could send it as a regular instruction, and then we even get return data. Look here, we get return data when we simulate that. Or also on chain, you will see the return data is this. Seen that before, huh? So here from our simulation, we could get the simulation value return data. This thing should have data, and that's a base64 encoded data response. So if we have data, we can decode that, or maybe not. Oh, 0, that's fine. And then we get a read-only uint8 array, and we know that this should be a number, so we get a u64 codec and decode this number, and then we should have our token account size. Let's see if that would work. There you go. 170 is what it returns. Didn't we have 178? Oh yeah, 8 bytes are then probably for the immutable owner that we do not request here. That makes sense. So if we just were to create a token account, we just need 170 bytes for it. But that's a bit complicated. We need to first create a transaction with this instruction. We even query the block hash. Then we simulate that transaction. So that's twice calling the RPC. I'm not sure. Can I simulate the transaction without the block hash? Let's test this real quick. Nope, because then it will simulate with block hash not found. So yeah, we need a block hash, or do it with nonce transaction, but that's also a bit weird. So it's just not ideal because twice I need to hit the RPC, and that's async. I need to wait for this. That's just a lot of waiting for getting to that size. It must be easier to get that size up front just knowing the extensions. And fair enough, if it is your token, if we know the extensions, I know the extensions, I could just manually write them down. I could just manually say, hey, the token account, because I don't have a better name for it, I'm going to always call it both token account, because otherwise you get confused. Token, you would understand maybe it's just a mint. Account, anything is an account. So token account extensions. What extensions do I need? Default account state doesn't have anything on the token account. It just initializes the token account differently. Mint close authority doesn't have anything on a token account. Pausable config does have something on the token account. Permanent delegate also doesn't have anything on the token account. So all I really need is just the extension for a pausable account, which needs, I gotta look that up again. Pausable account needs nothing. Perfect. So nothing. How about just this? Perfect. So just this extension. That's all the extensions that I'm asking for. Then what would be the get token size of those extensions? It would be 168. So something is still wrong here. I'm missing 2 bytes. What? Where are those 2 bytes coming from? See, and this is why that's so confusing. It's like, what? So even if I think that's all it needs, doesn't seem like that's all it needs. Oh, wait. No, the default account state also has... Let's check. The default account state... I think I'm just missing one extension. But which one? The immutable owner, I think this one would have 2 bytes. Or does immutable owner need more? But why can I not create this? It's not assignable to pausable account. What? Here I need to do this? The hell? Okay, sure, I'll do that. Fine. Ask me what that's about. TypeScript. With that, let's see. Here, no. Immutable owner would need 4 more bytes, so that's not it. Besides, we didn't want the immutable owner on here. What am I getting wrong here? This thing for that mint giving me 2 more bytes than if I just have the possible account. And see, here comes the why this is complicated and weird. Let's go through that. Default account state, or does it? Does default account state change that? I mean, close authority, I'm pretty sure that doesn't have anything on the token account, and neither does the permanent delegate. Let's go through the extensions. What am I missing? Uninitialized, fine. We don't have that, we don't have that, we don't have that, we don't have that, we don't have that. Default account state, this I think should just be on the mint. Immutable owner, memo transfer, we don't have that. Non-transferable, I also don't think I have that. We don't have that, we don't have that. We do have that, but it lives on the mint. Non-transferable account. Since we don't have non-transferable, we don't have non-transferable account. Again, you see it's always a one for the mint, one for the account type of situation. Transfer hook, one for the mint, one for the account. But we don't have that. Confidential transfer, we don't have that, 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 we don't have that. Possible config, we do have that, but we also have that. So it should be fine. And that's it. Why am I still 2 bytes off? I guess it's time to read some source code. So, token 2022, basically what I want is the source from this instruction, the get account data size instruction. Here we have it. That's the encoder. Maybe not in a JavaScript. I want program source processor. There, process get account data size. That's where we want to go. Try calculate account length for account extensions. And account extensions, get required account extensions for a mint account in. So first we get required account extensions, get required init account extensions. There we go. Based on a set of mint extension types, we get account extension types required on initialize account. So those are just the ones that we need to initialize. So it's not that many, just the transfer fee. The transfer fee config has the transfer fee amount. The non-transferable has the non-transferable account and immutable owner. The transfer hook has the transfer hook account, and the possible has the possible account. So that's basically it. And if we're testing mint padding test, okay, but this is where, let's ignore that. So as far as I can tell, we're also just using this extension. Okay, then back to the processor. Once we have the extensions, then we get the length for those extensions. Try calculate account length, and then we return that. Okay, so let's see what that does. Try get total TLV length, and then we just add the base length. So that's the 166 is a regular account, like from token keg, without the extensions. And here comes the stuff from the extensions. That's in here, where we loop over extensions, and then we map every extension, get the length, build the sum of that. But that's nothing confusing here either. Here we get the length. So for instance, our possible account will get the packed length of a possible account. That makes sense. But then it adds type and length to len. And this thing adds size of extension type and length in TLV structure. And I think both of those are just 1 byte each. Maybe it's missing that, but I don't think so, because it adds those for the mint stuff as well in the TypeScript. The TypeScript, where is it? Here, the getTokenSize. Yeah, it also uses a TLV encoder. Get hidden prefix encoder. Constant encoder. See? 2. And that's the extension encoder. So that should be fine. We also have the token base size plus this encoder length. But here the token base size is 165. Didn't we just say that that was 166? So base token and type length is 166. It adds 1 byte. Base account and type. So the type, that's another byte. That's why it's 166 here. Here it's, this one was just base account, which is 165. Because the first byte, so byte 166, indicates whether it's a mint or a token account. That's the type. Okay, that makes sense. But are we missing that in here then? Or is that from this const encoder 2. Is that what it adds here? Possibly. Still weird. I can still not explain to you why the one thing gives me 168 and the other thing 170. Where do we lose those 2 bytes? So yeah, no wonder that even experienced devs have issues with that, because it's weird, man. Now again, the safe way is to do this, right? To simulate that transaction with the getAccountDataSize instruction, because that thing we know works and gives us the correct size. That's the Rust implementation, that's on chain, and it gives me the correct token account size for any given mint. But then I need to do that simulation. Or I just use the associated token program that will do it for me. Let's call it create ATA. If I were to use get create associated token instruction, I just need to give it the ATA, the mint, the owner, the payer, mint, owner, payer, and the ATA is gonna be get, I never remember this. Was it find? It was find associated token PDA. The naming is so difficult to remember this. It's find associated token PDA with the mint, the owner being my payer, and the token program being token 2022. Oh, also here I should say the token program is token 2022. Oh yeah, and the ATA here, I'm not interested in the bump. This way it should also work. Look, if I say create ATA, wait, no, it does not work. Provided owner not allowed. Oh, I already because I already created this for that owner. SBR token accounts. I already have this token account, which is the ATA, because I already created it with the CLI. And there can only be one associated token account. That's the whole point of this. So either I need to close it or I need to create it for someone else. I think I'm just gonna close it. Close it with CLI as close account. Oh, just close. There you go. Now I shouldn't have any accounts anymore. Perfect. Now that should work. If I create the ATA, yeah, look at this. Because the associated token program will then call the getAccountDataSize, which will give me this. And just for my own entertainment, let's quickly... That is interesting, because here, that what it returns here, I just quickly decoded that, that's actually 174. Wait, let's look at that in Explorer. So this gave 174, and then here we have 174, but it also has extension types. Oh, interesting. So here it gives it additional extension types. So we give it the mint and more extension types that we want to have. So we're getting all different numbers here, because we said if we just do the getTokenSize, the mint is 280, okay, that's a different thing. Then if we do it with our kit, this part gives me 168, the simulation gives me 170, and if I add this extension immutable owner, then it gives me 174, which makes sense because we already saw earlier if I add the immutable owner, then it adds 4 bytes. So immutable owner seems to be 4 additional bytes. How can I, when I get the token size, how can I add this extension? That must be an argument in here, no? For the getAccountDataSize instruction. getAccountDataSize input, but this just has the mint as input. How do you... Can I see this raw? This is as raw as it gets. So it's 1507. That's for the immutable owner. No more. Let me print that signed transaction and let me look at this in Explorer, in the inspector. What are we actually putting in here? Just the 15. Okay, look. We're putting in just the 15 as instruction data. However, the associated token program manages to also get the extension array in here, which seems to be an array with first element immutable owner. So token 2022, latest release is version 10. What version do I have installed? Version 6? Oh wait, that's program v10. Let's check releases. Program v10, publish SBL token 2022 in v10. But is this a different thing then? Is this Rust? Because I'm basically just interested in the client, in this client. What's the latest version of this? 061. 061. I mean, I literally added it today. Okay, so Seems like that functionality is not in there yet. I could manually add it, just if I wanted to prove to myself or you that I can do that. If you wanted to do that thing, I'm just gonna overwrite the data with a new uint array. Because I know that this instruction, well actually, I don't even need to know. I know it starts with 15. I can be like, whatever I had in there in the data, flatten this. And then I'm gonna add the array for the extensions I want. So I want the extension type immutable owner, which is type 7. And then I need to give another 0 to know that the array is over now. I think that's how this works. And then it shouldn't give me 170, but it should give me 174. There you go. Now I'm doing the same thing the associated token program was doing, and now I also get that value and not that value. So now I'm also at the 174. But that's still a different number than the 172 that I get if I do this. Somebody explain that to me. Why am I missing 2 bytes when I do that? My problem will be that if I create an actual token account without the associated token program, but I do it, I don't know, manually somehow, for instance, with a token account key pair. If I create an account with the space of this token account size, which is 2 bytes too little, and I add the right lamperts and make this the account, pay for it myself, use the token 2022 program. And then I get an initialize account v3 instruction for this account, the token account address, for this mint, for this owner. Here I can put myself as the owner even if I already have an ATA. This will not work because it will have 2 bytes too little, right? If I say create token account, there we go, this will fail. Why will it fail? Invalid account data for instruction. Mint has a permanent delegate. Oh, that's just a warning, okay. The error is invalid account data. Why invalid account data? Because it's not big enough. Why is it not big enough? Because that stupid function here doesn't give me enough bytes. I don't know why it does that. I would need to manually say plus 2 freaking bytes to have the correct size, and then it will work. But this is just stupid. And it seems to be a bug in the client, in the generated code of this thing. I think in here we're missing 2 bytes somewhere. No wonder that my friends have problems with this. So yeah, I can also not explain that to you. You basically just gotta know that you need to add 2 bytes. And then, obviously, if you wanted to have another extension like a get initialize immutable owner here and put that account, then once again it will not work because it's not got enough. It will again be invalid account data for instruction. Why? Well, because when we calculate the size of the extensions, we need to also have that extension in here. If I save that, then it will work again. There we go. And here we are ourselves creating an account that then has the immutable owner and the possible account as extensions, because we added this instruction here and we provided the correct size. You know, I just consider this a bug with the kit once again, because you cannot explain to me why I need to add those 2 bytes, and it seems to be always 2, right? It's always 2 bytes that's missing. Let's check one more thing. Let's do without extensions. And if I don't add plus 2, what would I get here? I would expect 166 or something, or 65 or 67. Let's see. I'm not gonna add any, and I'm gonna create, hold on, I'm gonna SBL token create token, hold on, but with the program 2022. So this is now a token without extensions. It does not have extensions. And I'm just gonna say, this is the mint. Create the extensions for this. Let's see if that would work. If I create a token account without extensions. This would work. Here we actually get the correct size of 166. Interesting. So here this thing gets me 166. And if I create an account with 166 in size, I can initialize it. So without extensions, it gives me the correct size. This is the account we created. Yeah, 166. And we see it's a type token account. The token mint has type 1. Here, oh, you don't see that because it doesn't have extensions. Fine. Weird. What if I were to just add an immutable owner? Now it's with extensions, but yeah, that's so weird. See, from the from 166, adding the immutable owner should be 4 bytes. Oh yeah, now that worked. Look, we created this token account, which has the immutable owner with a size of 170, and that should be fine. Weird. This has 170. We see it has the extension of immutable owner. Length is 0. Boom. So that's 4 bytes. It's fine. That worked. Wait, so then why, if I add the pausable account, let's keep doing this. Let's keep going there. If we add the pausable account, the pausable account just, okay. Oh man, okay. Wait. What if I write an empty object in here? Okay, no, this does not work. Then TypeScript complains. But now my assumption is that the pausable account extension just has the wrong size. Because the pausable account also needs 4 bytes, like the immutable owner. Pausable account can't just have 2 bytes. Because for an extension, whether on mint account or on token account, you need 2 bytes representing the extension number and 2 bytes representing the length of the extension. So the minimum is 4. So now my best guess is that the pausable account just has a wrong length. Let's dig into this. Where is the pausable? Or first let's look at the immutable. Immutable owner adds a decoder size, a struct decoder of an empty struct with a use16 decoder. But that's also just 2 bytes. No, 2 bytes for the length and then an empty struct. So this might also be 2 bytes. Okay, finding the pausable config. Pausable account, there it's a bug. Pausable account is a get unit decoder. That's probably wrong. I mean, obviously wrong. I don't know what it does, but although confidential mint burn also gets a unit decoder. No, but my best guess is still that, what does that do? Fixed size of encoded value in bytes. 0. What? It encodes nothing? A unit encoder encodes nothing? Yeah, void. Returns a decoder for void values. That's obviously just wrong. Because basically what you're telling me here is, when you're trying to encode a pausable account, it has no size. Or you encode nothing. And then the size, which is another 2 bytes. But you need to encode something, even if it's an empty struct, because then at least you have the 2 bytes here. But uninitialized uses a unit encoder, that I'm okay with. But the other things, that's just... Okay, so basically just another bug in the kit, in the generated code from Kodama, because that doesn't happen often enough. Annoying. Okay, so basically now my best guess is here, this guy just... There's a bug that it doesn't give me the right size. Okay. But that means that otherwise that should still be possible, right? So what did we learn? The safe way to go about this is to bother our RPC with a getAccountDataSize instruction for our mint, where we can optionally also add more extensions that we want to have, like the immutable owner here, for instance. And then we simulate that transaction and get the return data, which will be then our token account size. But if we don't want to do that and we know what our extensions are, we just need to go through the extensions on the mint and check if any of those extensions require an extension on the token account, like for instance the pausable config does. And if you don't know which ones do, just look in the get required init account extensions. It's the transfer fee config that requires this. It's the non-transferable that requires those two. It's the transfer hook that requires the transfer hook account, and the pausable that requires the pausable account. That's it. Basically, if you write that code manually into your TypeScript, because I didn't see that the kit would have that anywhere. Or does it? If we had that function somewhere in the kit, that would be cool. No, I just see get pre-initialize instructions for mint extensions, get post-initialize. But yeah, don't find that. So if you have your mint account and you know the extensions of the mint account, basically for all the extensions you can go through them and see if they have a corresponding one for the token account, and then you just create that extension, and then you just shove those extensions in the getTokenSize. And if you use the possible account, you add 2 for now because there's a bug in the kit. And then it works. Easy, right? Easy. I'm not a fan of that generated code, and it seems like nobody ever tests those things. Except for me. And then people complain to me, why does that not work? Can you help me with that? And I'm like, I have not looked at that. Yeah, anyway. So it makes perfect sense to me that even experienced Solana devs don't get this thing to work because it just doesn't work correctly. But also, doing the simulation is not nice. And this thing here also is missing additional features, like being able to put an array of extensions in here. Oh well, working with the kit, it's all a work in progress. But hey, I hope that you still learned something about sizes. The main thing I want you to take away is that in token extensions, there are extensions on the mint account and there are also extensions on the token account. And they need to match. If you have a possible config on the mint, then you need a possible account on the token account. If I don't do that, if I say, hey, I don't need that, then I also don't need to add +2 here. And I'm just going to do the immutable owner. Guess what's going to happen? Yes, it's going to complain with invalid account data because it's too small still. Because it knows from the mint, this one has a possible config, so it tries to initialize the possible account on there, and then it doesn't have enough size. You cannot create it without this extension. You need to add this, then it will work. Yep, okay, good, enough. I'm gonna end here. It's not gonna get any better. It is working, right? The getMintSize and getTokenSize should help you get the correct account sizes. Just they are still a bit buggy for some extensions. And that's okay, people will fix it. I trust in the devs of the kit. And you hopefully understand how that stuff works now, or better understand it now. For me, with a quick fix here, it suddenly works, right? You just gotta know that they have a bug here and then you manually fix it until they fix it. But with that strategy, you should be able to synchronously find the size of a token account for any given mint. And that was the goal for today. I would say we managed, by also managing to find a bug in the kit, as we often do. Here's some other videos to watch, more stuff on tokens, and do subscribe and like if you feel like it. And then I will see you in the next one. Till then, I still like the kit, don't get me wrong, I still like the kit. We just need to get over those hurdles of Kodama creating the wrong encoders. There's so often there's an encoder problem. Yeah. Anyway, bye!